Morning, PaJohn. Welcome to YFM.
Thank you. For a moment, I was wondering who you were talking about.
I think you'd be the second person to give me this comment. I wonder what it takes to be all this that I just read. Doesn't it get too busy along the line?
I suppose it does at the point.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have your flowers like you're giving me.
I like that. I mean, I know it's only in these moments you really see, hey, now you be papa. Like, there's a lot.
I think so. And when you're updating your CV.
Oh, yeah.
When I'm updating my CV, I always get quite shocked to see some of the things that I've done in the past.
But a lot of the things you do sounds fun. They're usually things, yes, they're usually things people would do for fun, things people would do to unwind. Beyond these things, do you have something you call fun? Because all this will definitely be tagged as work when you're putting together the scene.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a job, first of all.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. And I think that the responses I get afterwards speak for that, because 90% of the guests talk about how professional. I mean, they even come on the trip expecting, some sort of, not lackadaisical, but like they don't expect the level of attention we give them, and that always surprises them. When it's super fun, and yet we make sure that because the way I do it, I have a mobile kitchen, so I travel with a mobile kitchen, and it's time constrained. So you need to know when you're packing the stuff. You need to know when you're washing the plates. You need to know. If you're not going to wash the plates, you need to know in advance and know that, okay, so in this box or in this rubber bag, we're going to put the plates that we're not going to wash, and then wash them when we get to the final destination. There's so much that goes into, because we've done it so many times, we know where, all these things are. So, well, very often on time. I mean, 2 weeks ago, we did the Savannah Safari, which is one of the tours that we have. We went up to Mole National Park.
Wow.
And I mean, honestly, I was even envisaging that we'd get there for like 7 or 8 o'clock. Guess what time we got there? We got there, technically, we got there before 6 o'clock.
Wow, earlier than expected.
Much earlier. So much earlier that I was asleep, and we actually missed the turning for junction.
Wow.
And we kept going, and then I sort of woke up and realized we were still going, and there's too much built up areas. And so I was like,
what time is this?
How much we passed the junction? And then everybody went on their phone, and then realized that we were almost about 45 minutes out. So we had to return. It adds to the fun. However, it also adds to the pocket because you're spending fuel.
That's extra.
So
the current prices.
All these things are part of the things that make the job exciting, as well as very, very important to check. Because if I didn't feel so comfortable to sleep, I would have, checked the road with my assistant. I don't know what happened. Apparently, he mentioned it to the driver. This would be the driver was like, no. So the driver's confidence gave my assistant an assurance that, okay,
everything is fine.
Yeah, because I was working with an assistant who hadn't been on that route. So, but those are some of the things that happen.
I mean, I think it's fair to say you placed the fun in the course of your job or your work so much that you're able to have fun with it and still put the seriousness work requires and still make it a job.
One of the things we always say is that even if we have a flat tire, as they're changing the tire, we'll be having a party.
It's an entire job.
We have a system, a Bluetooth speaker There's a Bose speaker.
Yeah, just connect and play.
Yeah, Bluetooth, connect and play. So as we're changing the tire, we just put and it's happened before in the middle of nowhere, and it's playing and people are dancing, and I think we had some juice and stuff. And
there's always item 13 on board.
Yes.
But so let's get into, I mean, people know you in this capacity. You've done immensely well when it comes to promoting local tourism. I must say, I haven't been on any of your trips yet, but it's a pledge, yes, on air, to my listeners and, of course, to your team. I will soon jump on board. It's sad how people try so much to explore beyond the borders of Ghana, which is not really a big problem. But we need to really know the corners of our local land, the corners of our Ghana, because it's in that.
I agree with you absolutely, and I think it's, you know, if you look at every human endeavor, I don't think that you want to know the complete details of the next person when you haven't explored yourself.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. And so when you're asked about you, you should know that these are your ailments, these are your happiness, these are your, you know. So I think in the same breath, the reason many years ago, I just fell into this you know, deep thing. We have to know our country. We have to know our country. Because I was fortunate enough to be traveling around, you know, a bit. Went to the Caribbean, and there's so much promotion and noise about the Caribbean being the beautiful. So I went to the beach. Yes, it's beautiful and landscaped and everything. And I grew up in a house where, so we had a gardener, and we had a big garden. My dad had a rose garden, and at the back we had other plants and lawns, and we had a gardener who was very passionate, and through his own initiative, he would create different things. And there was one strip of lawn which my bedroom window overlooked, and he would use his own initiative during big seasonal times like Easter, Christmas, maybe Daddy's birthday and things like that, to use the plants to write happy birthday, Papa, and happy Easter, and happy Christmas and things. And when you're close to it, you don't see it very well. But in my bedroom, when I wake up and I look out the window, I see it very clearly, and I see him working in the days leading up to the final sort of review, and then I wake up and it's there, and you know, and then I got used to it, so it wasn't a novelty anymore. And I traveled. So when I traveled and I see I saw the landscape and all the. Like, okay, it's nice, but we can do this. It's been done. It's done in Ghana, so what's the big deal? And I think that's what made me realize.
I mean, we have it all here too.
Yes, everything. I mean, look, let me not speak too much. Drive at what we call Redemption interchange. Is it a Redemption still? No. Akwaje interchange. So the Netherlands embassy is at the junction. So look at the landscape of the front of the institutions that belong to other people, and then get to the Netherlands High Commission or Netherlands embassy, and look at the landscape. It's always impeccably cut and kept. You know, and so they give it attention. It's on the paper. It's on, you know, and it's on the budget, and it's on, you know, they give it attention. So the only thing that we don't do is give attention to
these things.
Or organize it. You know, put it. It's always like, oh, okay, it's there. When it grows, oh, look for somebody to cut it. I mean, if we keep doing that, you know, we're not going to get the sort of the level of attention that we want.
The attention people are putting theirs.
Yes, people. with tourism, you need multi visits and things like that to keep it going, to sustain it. You can have people come once because they hear all these grand things about Ghana, but what you want really is the repeat, and the repeat would be when they've come and they're blown away by all the things around. The different people who come, I mean, the Europeans have a different perspective. The Americans have a different reason. We're wooing Chinese and Australia and all those. They all come with different reasons. And I remember one of the earliest visitors I had to the opportunity to take around were English. And they were so fascinated by the fauna and flora, and wherever we got to, they were asking me about the trees and the plants and the flowers, and I had...
We really don't have to know.
Okay, I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you.
I'll call my plug on the Forestry Commission.
And this was a time when, of course, there was no mobile phone or anything. So I had to keep writing it down. Sometimes I'll pluck it and then I had to go and ask people who knew, and then give the lady the information. And half the time she would have told me about the plant anyway, and I just go and confirm that. Oh yes, it is. It is. So, and then you have the Americans who are interested, of course, in the pilgrimage of the African connection and all that. So,
it's been fun.
I think I enjoy working, or let me say, I enjoy taking what we call local residents out, because sometimes a surprise in seeing that, oh my God, this is in Ghana, is also worth it. And I think that's the thrill of why I do what I do.
That's beautiful. It actually lands on the point I was trying to make. It's extra fascinating when you find out, you discover new things about the same place you grew up. I mean, this is our Ghana. I grew up in Kumasi, and I saw places in the Ashanti region I'd never seen when I decided to embark on local tours. Join people, join teams. At the point, I was a part of the Travel Wide Club, and we had the Wildlife and Travel Wide Club together. So we went to the Kakuns and the rest, and it was always fun. It's very unfortunate how after school you get so immersed in work, you barely find time for that, but we're able to find time to go to the Cancuns and the rest. And so that's what basically PaJohn's mission is, to help people know that whatever it is that you go find out there can be found here. And if we need that look they have, we need to put extra attention to it. It needs to be on paper. We need to acknowledge that this exists and someone must be responsible for it. But let's move on beyond all that. Here on the Leaderboard series, we'd love to, roll back the years. Kindly take us back to your childhood. You gave us a little bit of your childhood with regards to the gardener, your bedroom overlooking the garden, some DB stuff. It looks DB, what are some of the fondest?
Unapologetically DB. I mean, I am not going to lie to you. I can't apologize for who I am.
Yeah, that's who you are.
So I don't know what exactly.
Fondest memories. Because if I tell you to speak about it all, we might not finish. Things you remember about your childhood beyond that, because I think the garden thing was a big inspiration for you.
So I grew up in a very safe environment. I grew up. My parents. By the time that I came, I was the last of my parents' children. One of the last, And so by the time I came, my mother had already done the major babysitting of my siblings, and that was in the 60s in England. So then she had returned to Ghana to come and live her life as Mrs. Dadson, with her handbag going around and planning her world travel and all kinds of things. Feeling that she was now a free woman to be able to correspond with her teenage children, and the children were growing in school, and they're responsible enough to take care of themselves. And then I popped my head. So suddenly, it's like, this boy too. Where did you come from? So then I became her handbag, and of course, she didn't shelve her travel plans. So
always tagging along.
Yeah, I mean, we did a bit of Europe, Belgium, Paris, Amsterdam, London, those places, and she'd go by coach sometimes, and would stop in some village, go to a cafe, have a meal. So as a child, I saw a bit of that kind of life. And then back home in Ghana, they were very busy, my parents, and we lived a very comfortable life. So our house was in Ring Road Central. Okay. It had 14 bedrooms.
14 bedrooms.
We had a swimming pool, tennis court, a sunday with swings and.
Are you sure you're not describing a hotel?
So
don't mind me.
Yeah, I mean, I get worse. I mean, I myself sometimes I don't want to talk about it because it sounds so fluffy. But that's what
it is. What it is.
It is what it is. That's what I grew up on, and so for 20 years we lived there before. When I finished sixth form, I went to England, and unfortunately, that's when my dad passed away also, and we moved away. We moved from the house to smaller accommodation. Yeah. So I don't know if you ever saw the IPMC had on Ring Road. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that building. That's my family house. So that's where I grew up. And that's, so I had a world view from a very early age. I remember that before I was 9, 8, I think I read the newspaper more than anything else. And I had an uncle, I remember, Uncle Fee, and my auntie's husband. She was always fascinated with the fact that I would read, so when I went to London, he would set us, me against his children, give us a part of the Times or the Independent
for reading challenge.
Yeah. And then I always read smoothly, and my cousins, he expected them to read more.
I mean, they were raised in England.
Yeah, he expected them to be more. And they were also reading, but Uncle, you hear how they, oh my God. So yeah, I mean, but yes, I mean that was pre-Achimota. But even as a child, your cousin from Ghana, you see how well you should read like him and that kind of thing. And we always had a lot of fun talking about those things. So, I had a world view at a very early stage, and I suppose that's what brought me to what I did, and. It's quite challenging, to grow up in an environment like that because there are a whole lot of things that come with it, But
around that time, well, let me backtrack to when before Dad passed. Did they have any career aspiration for you? Did they wish you to a certain path career-wise? So you had a plan already?
I was last of 7 children from my mother. My father had other children, and all of us were one big family. So those career paths, touring a certain line, all those things had been done with my older brothers.
You just came in.
So by the time I came in, when they realized that all the things they had for the big boys had failed.
Achieved that. Okay.
Well, not failed aside, not gone the way they went, because it's always, I want you to follow them. But then they have other talent they want to pursue. And if you don't allow, so I wanted to be a dancer.
Is it?
Yeah. And not.
Where did that interest come from? I mean, like
I don't know.
You must have seen something on one of your tours.
Or something on stage in England or somewhere. And not a ballet dancer per se.
I mean, like a performer, pretty much.
A real serious dancer. Okay. And I was living in Ghana and thinking about something like that. I didn't even mention it.
Yeah. I just stayed up here.
Yeah, because I didn't see anybody. It was just in those movies that I watched and saw professional male dancers and admired it. And in my bedroom, I would.
You bust a few moves.
Yeah. So, because I think I can't remember which movie it was, but there was the dance was a cross between ballet and pop and jazz, and it was just a fusion of just expressing yourself with your body. And I liked that. And I knew that there were professionals doing that in America and Europe.
But you didn't see any around.
No, I mean those. So, and I thought, well, I don't see any such in Ghana. How am I going to message to these people? I want to be a dancer. How are you going to live, and all that. And so I left it. And then I remember that sixth form, a friend of mine, Baba Lindsay, was doing dance at Legon. And I thought to myself, oh my God,
there's actually a course
there's actually a course for dance. Why didn't I know that?
Yeah.
So by that time I was changing my mind as to what I wanted to do. Obviously, when you like reading, to become a lawyer is one of the big things that you think about. And so I thought, wow, maybe I should pursue this
the dance thing.
And what Baba did to me, Baba and I were actually, though she's a little older than me, my brother had a group, a drama musical group called Talent Incorporated.
Okay.
And I think that's also where this whole thing came from, because I was the youngest member of Talent Incorporated. When he recruited me, because they would rehearse in our house, and they had, you see what Chief Momain is doing?
Yes.
That was the sort of thing we were doing at the time. It was called the African Connection, and it was music and dance and
drama.
It was fantastic, and they would rehearse in our house. So people like Kofi Bakna, Ramabri.
You started seeing all of them.
All of them were, and at the time, of course, we were young, and I was their pet, and so one day, I must have been about 7 years old. I was in the wings, they were rehearsing. And of course, by that time, we knew all the lyrics to the songs, the kids in the house. The house, as I said, was quite huge, and we had my dad's sort of household work with the cook, the housekeeper, all of them lived at the back, and then their children, the families with their families. So their children were also there, and so we were all growing up with some of my cousins and extended family from the village and all that. So we were all growing up there. So we were in the wings, and then we'd be singing and things. And then one day, my brother just said, PaJohn, and then he just,
come join us.
So I went and took position, and that was it. And so I could dance. I was quite a pretty good dancer. So as part of the whole thing, in the part 2, there's one song that he did a solo for me. So during that solo, everybody would leave the stage, and I would mount a little platform, and the light would spot on you. And even Michael Jackson.
I love that. Beautiful story, guys. I'm here with PaJohn Bentsifi Dadson. And we're still talking about his childhood, Beautiful story right there. So, who was your greatest inspiration as a young man? I think the figures you've mentioned, your big brother, money, of course, comes in with the tours. Beyond them, did you have anybody who would still be within that?
It would be within that. My dad was a great influence on me. He had himself been an actor when he was young, and then he went into business and then into politics, and then his business flourished quite a bit, and he was just a charismatic human being who, being close to him as in a relation, of course I thought I wanted to emulate this man, because then I validated my interest in the arts by the fact that he had started in the arts, and I thought that yes, if I start, and then maybe I can become an entrepreneur or a businessman like he was. But unfortunately, I don't have that. I didn't have the sort of discipline he did, and so I'm not as businessly successful. I'm business inclined.
I mean
the
formal.
One of the things I want young people to understand is that when you have a talent, which I have multi-talent. I'm multi-talented in my own way. You have to organize your talent and manage it. They're two completely different things. And managing the talent also requires some skill. And that's why if you don't have that skill, you hire somebody who will then manage the talent. So you concentrate on the talent, and those are some of the things that I missed out on because I was so focused on doing the things that I was doing. I did not manage myself, if you like, properly. And so while I was succeeding in taking off the boxes of the things that I wanted to do, the box of making money was not being ticked because I wasn't doing it and making sure that the returns were sustained. I always did some job, got paid, and then I would put it in the tours, and you end up, with a bit of a disparity because maybe you don't get enough of the people to come on the tour to make you break even, and so it's when you want to go into business, you need to really sit down and understand what business is before you get into business.
Lovely. Love the sound of that. 42 past 10. If you have a question for PaJohn, 0202222073 will get you in via WhatsApp. But back to you. Until 1995, I think along the line you mentioned that at some point you had to come back to Ghana.
Yes. Actually in 95.
You spent a considerable amount of time schooling and working in the UK. Beyond the experience, what brought you back? Was it the demise of your dad?
Oh no. There was never a question of me living abroad. There was never a question. I knew I was going to live in Ghana. I was going abroad to do my tertiary and then come back. So there was never a question of that. And one of the things that I personally did when I was in England was I did not allow myself to enjoy the largesse if you like, of living abroad. So like when you got a flat, then you got your TV and you got your system, and you know, sort of. I live here. No, I didn't do that.
You always lived like a Vista.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so honestly, coming back was a 2-day decision. You know, because I knew I was going to come back. I was working part-time with an art gallery. What's it called? Savannah Gallery? Or I can't remember exactly what it was called. I think it was Savannah Gallery. And he was planning to launch an art festival in Ghana.
Okay.
Of art. Art Accra in 95. And so I was helping him with some PR work in England, you know, writing the releases, sending them to the newspapers and those kind of things. So close to the time that he was about to come, he said to me, "So PaJohn, you know, when I go, you know, we heard, you know, would you like to?" I said, "Oh yeah, why not?" And so this was like 2 or 3 days before. So I just went and packed my bag, and we came. So when we came, I'd already told my mother I'd be coming back home. Unfortunately, you know, at the time, you know, like we also looked forward to coming to. I mean, this deal December thing didn't start now. Even then,
it was a thing.
It was a thing. You know, I mean, we would, all of us were fortunate enough to be living abroad. You know, we'd come December, and I remember, you know, Bam Tavern, you know, all those places. Look, you'd be in Bam Tavern dancing, and then you step out. What? It's 7 o'clock? I mean, it didn't start yesterday, even though it's gained a lot of, you know, which I'm tremendously excited about. But yeah, you know, it started a whole long time ago by us. And Bam Tavern would serve kinky, and it was one of the things that kept us at Bam, you know, till the early hours of the morning. You come all sweaty and drenched in sweat, and then the early morning breeze would cool you down, and then you go and find some kinky and some beer, you know, before you go home and go and sleep. And then, of course, this was Saturday night, so we come to Sunday, and then in the afternoon we meet at Labadi Beach and continue the party. We also did so.
Very necessary. Wow. So I mean, when you came, I think it's right. It's right to say you came, and the first set of activities you were involved in beyond the fun was helping your former employee, your former employer, set up the arts festival.
And even beyond that, I mean, even in London, I was very much in the Africa Ghana community because I was a reporter for a Ghana newspaper called Ghana Weekly News. It was published in London, circulated a bit in London as well as here. The publisher was Sidney Casely Hayford, and the Ghana link was Beneficent. And you know, so I started writing. Even then, I was a columnist in the Ghana Weekly News, and my column was about the Ghana enterprise in England. So every weekend I was invited to some
Ghana event somewhere,
some Ghana festival, some Ghana party, you know. So that was my life, and I knew that even when I come back to Ghana, I would be going back and forth, you know. And indeed, when I returned, I continued writing. Ghana Weekly News was defunct, so when I came back, started writing for the Chronicle, and in fact, because of, you know, the Chronicle was a serious newspaper, and Kofi Kumsin, the publisher, I remember when I told him that I would write for him, he laughed at me. He said, "We're serious. We want serious people." He said I was coming to do concerts.
I can imagine.
So, so he was a family friend and like a relative, and so I used to go to his office. I mean, and I'd just be sitting there observing and reading and all that. And so one day I went to there was a trade fair in 95, an exhibition, big exhibition of the trade fair. I think it was on wood. So I wrote an opinion piece.
Okay.
And then I just dropped it on his desk. I did not say anything. So the following day, I rang the office and I called his line. Because he was naughty. He had a thing. He picked the call. He picked the call. He said, Ghana Chronicle, as if he was a receptionist. And then when he recognized who it is, then he said, okay, hey, hi, Jingo. So he did that. And I was like, but this is direct line. Anyway. So I said, I was going to ask him if he had seen
your piece.
My piece. And I was like, so when he heard my voice, recognized my voice, he said, PaJohn, oh, good piece. I was like, oh, have you seen it? He said, yeah. He sent it, they're going to publish it. Wow. I was like, oh, okay. And then he published it. And then the following week I wrote something else.
The concept man has written a piece.
The following week I wrote something else, and then I think by the third week he sent me on an assignment. By the third week he sent me on an assignment, and I was like, okay. So I got excited, and then I started writing for the Chronicle, and because I was arts oriented. Not long after he left to do his doctorate or so in one of the universities, Harvard or something like that, and Cabral came as the editor, and Cabral was even more arts oriented than Kofi. So Cabral actually made me create the entertainment arts column section. So I started doing that and at the time. It was those times in Ghana where the political scene was the only thing that was.
It was the only center of attention,
Yeah, there was not much entertainment writing or anything going on. I think the only entertainment page would be the Mirror, with PaJohn Dadson. And so I started doing that, and then I remember the company or the brand that came in with exciting events and all that was I think Mobitel or DSTV or they came in and they were doing all these fashion events and so the scene started getting very vibrant and exciting. Confbesia was a fashion show. I can't remember the lady who did it, but it was at Labadi Beach Hotel by the pool, and oh man, it was
memories, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So at what point did you decide? So it was you writing pieces for the newspaper. It caught on, and then you got the opportunity to create the entertainment and arts column when Cabral came. At what point did you decide to focus on tourism? Because I'm told at some point you decided, you know what?
So I was doing that, and then I think around 2020. Is that no? Around 2000.
2000, yes. 2020 is just 3 years ago.
Yeah. Around 2000, I was so. I think in 96, 97, the year that Sheila Zuntoba won the Miss Ghana. When Sheila won, there was some sort of controversy.
Okay.
Was it Sheila or the year before? There was some sort of controversy as to how she emerged and won. And Kwe Kubwa who was a presenter at Radio Gold at the time, invited me to review the event.
Yeah.
So I went, and I think my insight kind of shocked everybody, because I reminded them that even though I wasn't part of the team that was planning or organizing the Miss Ghana, I knew that the marking, marking the girls starts at before you come on stage. And so I remember, look, don't forget that they've been observing these girls even before they come on stage. And part of the scheme would have, you know, how poised they are and how they comport themselves and everything, even before they appear on the stage. And the stage thing is the final. Yes, it does give you, that's where they used to pick who the winner is, because once you come on stage, then you're all at par. So I think it kind of brought up, you know, again. Then Mr. May he rest in peace, Bafubano. He when I finished, he called me to his office like, oh, good analysis, whatever. You should join us. So I
just like that,
yeah. And so I was doing a lot of those things, you know, just gaining a lot of experience and, you know, getting a grounding in the industry.
What's kept you going on this journey? Because it sounds like a little bit of everything. You were writing at some point, went on to shows, started reviewing events, got extra motivation to start writing further. It wasn't money. Because I don't hear money mentioned in here. I don't hear offers being made. What was that one thing that kept you going? Something you really wanted to see at the end of it all?
You know, the movement of domestic tourism right now may not seem like a subset of what I did, but I believe it is. And that's what makes me excited. That's what makes me feel like, oh, we did something. Because of course it wasn't just me. There were a few people who were also doing stuff, you know. And I think that if we didn't press on the things that we did, perhaps we wouldn't be where we are, you know. So I'm not saying that I'm the one who started this or pushed this, but I was part of my whole passion was to create that sort of awareness. I wanted a lot more people to become aware of what tourism is, of what Destination Ghana is, and today. At the time it would be about 20% if you make a measurement, not scientific. But today it would be in the 90s. Yeah, and I contributed a little bit to that, and I think that was a big motivation for me. And like I said, because so then that's where my multi-talent
setting
comes in, because then you write, then you speak, then they're all talent. We haven't even talked about my cooking talent. I'm cooking for friends, and they're pushing me to start a restaurant, and I'm busy with the other stuff that I'm doing, and then I said, okay, I'll start a private dining establishment. And today I have a private dining establishment. Wow. And it's so private, So money, yes, money is very important. You must make money from your talent and the things you do. But yes, I didn't have any dependence.
Okay.
You see, and so I didn't have that challenge to make. I was making just enough to go on, and to all intents and purposes, I'm so content with what I have and what I get. I'm so content, so fortunate, so blessed to be in the family that I am. The only person that, being single, over the years, the only person that I needed to worry about, of course, was my mother. My mother herself also had worked so hard when she was younger. She put quite a bit aside for herself. So in her old age, she wasn't depending on me or her children. She was okay. But of course, as a child, you want to do something for your mother. So every so often, you try and get something for her. Or you have to make sure that she is comfortable. So yes, I was around and making sure that, she kept laughing, because money does not make you laugh. It's the people around you who actually bring in that inner happiness, and that's the important thing for me. And so that was what I had. At a point I had a bag packed, where if you came to my house and said, "Oh, you're doing this, you're traveling, blah 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 blah," I just picked my bag and I joined you, and you're gone.
You're always ready.
I was ever ready, and we're going. And so because we be talking, you're going to the Eastern region. Oh, have you seen the hill like this? Oh no, where is it? Oh, let me show you. And then we're gone. And then I come back, and 2 or 3 days later, and I didn't have anybody to have to tell them. Oh, I am going. If you had a serious girlfriend,
you had someone to understand.
Then it was a big.
You just lived a free life.
I was just focused on. And I was writing about these things, and it was important to me to be exposing. So that was all my focus and my attention. And so I wasn't thinking about a whole lot. So yeah. That's why I was able to do the things I do. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey. So I keep telling, especially my young friends, that yes, listen to my story, but don't say that you're going to run your story by mine, because we come from different perspectives.
Given the power, would you undo anything you did in the past? Are there things you sit back and look at and say, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done this, or maybe I should have attended to this earlier than I did?
Oh yes, yes and no. Maybe what I would probably do is, maybe I should have done this this way. Maybe change the way that I did something, because I have new insights now, I have new knowledge now, and I should have shared that knowledge in this other way. I was just, there are different ways of sharing information, and you have to know the audience that you're sharing it with. And it's not every audience that accepts the information the way that it is presented. And so it's very important to acknowledge that and know where and when to, because we're just talking about how, particularly like for a station like yours, sharing information on tourism, for instance, as you reach the audience you reach is very young, and all they want to know is, Charlie, if they go somewhere, this is the adventure, they can have a stick around their neck, wow, and then Charlie, afterwards you can drink some palm wine, Charlie, and then you can get on the bus and you can do Jama as you go for the last leg of the trip. Charlie, then I want to go. It's all about and then there's there's a lot of tourism potential.
We're looking at the business side of it.
You can build.
None of that. I really love what you're saying.
So it's you have to know where you're talking. You understand? So those are some of the things that I've learned.
And these were things you learned on the job.
On the job. And it makes me. These are some of the things that make me say, maybe that thing that I did 6 years ago, if I had had this information,
you would have done
done it that way or presented it in a better way or something like that.
Great. Pa, why did you set up the Tourism Marketing Alliance? And in what year? I tried reading about it online, but I wasn't really getting the exact year.
So the Alliance was a freewheeling organization. It wasn't
an institution. Yeah. Okay.
It was an alliance that I created when I wanted to do my tourism education and advocacy. Yeah. So I had a partnership with Joy FM, and then at different times with other media, and because I wrote columns for the graphic, also graphic, and so the idea was that in those on those platforms that I have opportunity to share my knowledge. It was an alliance. I mean, because most of the information that I also parted was on tourism. So that's why I was calling the what was it called again?
The Alliance.
The Alliance. Tourism
Alliance.
So so as I said, it was a freewheeling thing. It wasn't like a formal thing. I didn't even launch it. It was just like you're doing a show and you have your sponsors, But I wanted to highlight the media partners that I was doing what I was doing with.
Through that, were you able to connect with other tourism enthusiasts when you formed the alliance? It wasn't an institution, I understand, but it gave some sort of attention to what you were doing. Through that, did you discover, there are other people who have similar interests like you?
Yes, I did. But and you see, what's happened is, as we were doing that, it was really focused on what I was doing. Yeah. And indeed, I wanted at a point to expand it to involve other institutions and individuals and all that. And yes, it was bringing quite a spotlight on what I was doing and all that. And this was 2014, 2015. So what? Almost 20 years. Almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years, yeah. 10 years next year.
I thought it was last year. No. Yeah. So from 2015, 16, 17, 2018, 19, I started experiencing an ache in my back, my leg, my left leg, and it was a kind of pain that started. I mean, when I sit down, I'm fine. Yeah. When I stand within 2 minutes, the pain it was like electric going through your leg, and it was very subtle at the beginning, but uncomfortable. Yeah. And I think I couldn't even explain it properly. Yeah. So when I spoke to a doctor, I think a doctor years ago, Dr. Bin Idu, a specialist, when I was talking about it and all that, I think he checked me. I remember he even measured my legs and said that one leg was actually a tiny little inch or half an inch or something longer than the other. So one of the things is that when I lean, my body shifts and leans on one part, the weight is
shifted to
the so it was like, I have to lose weight, and I've tried losing weight, and it's not happening. It's not happening. Stop telling me to lose weight. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that one has to do. I'm joking as I say this, but it's something that I'm focused on doing. The reason why you don't lose weight in the right way is because we always do it as a crash diet.
It's a short project.
And then those ones, once it comes, you lose the weight, and then the weight starts building up again, and then you get even bigger and then bigger and bigger. So when we're not here to talk about weight.
That's fine.
So but as the years went on, I realized that the condition was called sciatica. It's called sciatica. Nerve is a nerve.
I think the sciatic membrane, the nerves around there.
Yeah, it's very painful.
Yeah,
and I'm living with it. It's very painful. So because of that, I kind of reduce my activities.
Yeah, the frequency
of the things that I do, and then I have to think of the future of what I do and how I want it done. Because you see, it was modeled around the person. When I send people, I can't just send people out with somebody to go and cook for them. I have to be, I would want to supervise it, and so all those things come into play, and we're working on it. It's a work in progress.
Wow. At what point did you set up Native?
Native Adventures.
Yes.
I think it was around. Yeah, I mean, I was just calling the things I was doing Native Adventures. You see, and then I finally registered it around that 2015 or 2021. Yeah, as a company that provides tourism and hospitality services. But I think what's more what's exciting is how when I started with Joy FM. So when we teamed up, we talked. So we had a program on Doreen Nando's show, and Doreen and I would discuss, and every other week I would talk about some of the attractions that are available. Some of the lesser known attractions. Fortunately for me at that time, internet had come.
Okay.
And fortunately again, Yao Pari and may he rest in peace, the late Emmanuel Bobie, were posting photos of those places on their pages. And so as Doreen and I were talking, we would make references that if you check Yao Pari's page or Emmanuel Bobie's page, and people would go there, and then what we'll be talking about would come alive. And there was one time I was with Yao. We went and discovered, like Christopher Columbus discovering Africa. Yeah, right. We went and saw, but it was a discovery for us. Yeah. It was an enlightening discovery for us. The sacred grove in the Bono area, where there are rock formations, and it was fascinating. My God! And I took all these pictures. There's this rock that I stood and I pointed like Kwame Nkrumah. I took a picture. And the teased me as Fusala, forward and back. But that sort of thing. And that rock, one of the things I wanted to do was get everybody there to actually do this forward and back and everything. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do it because of the pain, because getting there is a bit of a moderate walk, but I always surprise myself too. Even last year, I did a tour, went up Mount Gebi with the crew. We went and served lunch up on Mount Gebi, and I climbed up.
You did it?
I got there. I mean, just before I got there, I cried, but I got there.
Wow.
I said to God, why are you sending, you brought me up here? I'm seeing the cross, it's over here, and I'm walking and the cross is going further. Why? God, why? Keep the cross where it is and carry me there and stop what you're doing. I got up there, and the visitors came, and we served them nicely, and it was a completely different setup. And we stayed up there for about 3 hours. Anybody who goes up Mount Gebi on the regular, we spend like 30 minutes, at most 1 hour, unless they went up to go and pray. But to have a group up there and they had activities, that's the idea of what I do now. Where I've evolved to, because we go along with so many things, with games, and the kitchen is serving all these, and sometimes we have different cutlery, different crockery for the foods, and that alone is a point of conversation and joy, So even if we went to a destination or attraction where the attraction itself wasn't working,
you create it. Yeah, I love that. But so, in your activities, do you have like a list of places or attractions you'd visit on the regular throughout the year? Do you have like a calendar of places, or every trip has its plan and it's something you don't really plan at the beginning of the year? How does it work for you?
So right now, what we want to do is we want to build up to a calendar. And so when people want to, we can give them that, okay, we're going at the end of the month, we're going here. The challenge is when you put up an event, a spontaneous event, as I call them, where it's just out and expecting people to sort of come on board. It's one of the most challenging things to market, and so we actually do a lot of sort of private events for groups, local groups, and all that. And it's not everything that we sort of put out, So a lot of the things I'm talking about are about when I've done events for private groups and things. But we have a series of itineraries that's doing, for instance, we have one that does a sip and paint.
Nice.
At Adomu Bridge.
Oh.
So there's this garden near Adomu Bridge. That's where we sort of will sit.
Wow.
We sit and you do the painting, which you keep. And then before you do the painting, you would have breakfast on one of the cruises. So after that, then we would ride over to Asamina Waterfalls and have some grills. The grills are our signature.
Just catch them live and grill them.
Oh yes, it's always very exciting, because as soon as we get there, we set up the grill, light the fire, and we have the meats marinated already. Put it on, and
there we go.
Yeah.
17 past 11, Y107.9 FM. In a bit, I'll check out your messages for Pa on WhatsApp, okay? But let's talk about the tourism sector here in Ghana, Pa. We can't have a conversation about your business and not touch on the state of tourism here in Ghana now. Now, with your decades of experience in the tourism sector, What, in your opinion, are some of the things that make Ghana attractive for tourism? We've talked about a lot. What would you then say is Ghana's main tourism product?
The culture.
The culture. Okay.
Our culture is very unique, and what they see, the royalty, that whole pageantry of the Asante kingdom and the gold, and that's very attractive for a lot of people. Also now, as it's growing, the younger people are so much more interested in ecotourism, and so the idea of a place where they can hike and where there's a hiking culture, which is building, which is actually building. But traditionally, yes, our culture is a big attraction, and then of course the pilgrimage of the African American experience, or the diasporan experience, is also another very big attraction in the history and heritage that we have. I think those are the two main things that
main products.
The two main products, that I focus on.
Nice. Now, in relation to the last part you mentioned, the African American experience, I think out of that was born the Year of Return, project, and subsequently the Beyond the Return initiatives. To me, they've been resounding successes, for the country. But for you as a stakeholder, I'm sure it meant more than just the numbers coming in. From where you sit, how would you assess the rate of success it's given? And if you have any interesting scenarios to back it up, sure. Yeah.
Definitely, it's put Ghana on a certain very exciting light. Yeah. Where even carving out that whole idea of Ghana, Accra as a ritzy, memorable city, for me is something we should capitalize on and build. So while we are doing the culture thing and all that, because you see, I think that when we think of South Africa, beyond the Zulu images, the safari and everything that we have, there's this city lights thing of the South African capitals, the cities, that also is an attraction.
Attraction.
And I think that Accra should also become that. And for a lot of young people who are now exploring, it's a big attraction for them to go to a city, a country where they can have both an opportunity to experience a beach where there's such minimal amount of people, and then also go to a club where there's no space for them to stay. So there's a whole lot going on, and I think that it's very exciting. These are very, very, very exciting times. Very exciting times. And I think the marketing, the team, my boss, Akwesili Ajiman, spot on. I mean, we have there are challenges, obviously, and you don't want to,
dwell so much
on the challenges. Everybody has talked about the challenges and all that, but generally, things are moving and it's getting even more exciting. He has many other things under his umbrella, which are coming. So we should.
In your line of work or your journey, I think I love to call it a journey, and you've had opportunity of meeting a lot of people, okay? Can you recall that encounter you had which completely altered the way of your view on life, your view on your work, someone you met that sent you crazy on your way back home?
You know, I'm not starstruck.
You're not fascinated by personalities?
Not so much. Even though, yeah, I mean, there's some people that, you know, there's one story. I had to interview Shaft, what's his name? Oh gosh. Isaac Hayes.
Okay.
Isaac Hayes. He was staying at the Golden Tulip, and I arranged to have an interview with him. And he said, yeah. So he gave me the time and everything. I got there, and I got the receptionist to call his room. And so when it was ringing, they gave me the phone, and then he picked up, and he had been asleep. Can you imagine his baritone? I don't know what got over me. Just said hello, and I said, Mr. Hayes, it's PaJohn from the Chronicle. Worry. Oh yeah. He'll be down soon. And the next thing I said, I love your voice. And then I said, so I could tell he smiled.
Yeah.
And said, I'll see you soon. So he hung up. I was like, oh, why did I say that? But I was just completely, I was like, so this internationally acclaimed voice and everything, I'm just doing a one-on-one with it. And
I just got him on the phone.
So he came and he was laughing, he was smiling, and I'm sure he was smile about what I said. So then we got talking.
I'm sure that even broke the ice, you know.
It did. It actually did. So when he came, you know, we had a very interesting interview. I can't remember what we discussed, but yeah, we did the interview. And so him, that woman, that lady, South African lady who sang Rudy, she,
my days.
How could I forget her name?
Me too.
But her, I mean, she was such a bundle of.
The lady that sang Wokomoti.
No, she didn't sing Nkomoti.
Oh, okay.
I think Nkomoti was by someone else. Hey, this is serious. But Brenda Fassie.
Brenda Fassie, yeah.
Brenda Fassie,
yes.
So I spent 2 days with Brenda Fassie. Oh my God. I think it was because I was chaperoning her because she came to do a show when I was at Charterhouse and with Ovation magazine, and I had to keep her company, as it were. Oh my God. She was just.
She's bubbly, right?
Beyond life. Yeah. I mean, one moment she's
I've seen a couple of her interviews. She's very lively.
And then she would come and cuddle me, and then pretend she's crying, and she says she wants a beer. There's this beer, Savannah beer.
Savannah.
I should buy her one, and we'll go. Then we'll stop. And I go and buy a Savannah. And she'll be happy, and then she'll go into. Then she'll be talking about the freedom, and then the next thing she's sad. Next thing she's happy. You never know where she is at any one point. But she gave a fantastic show.
Yeah, I mean, when she gets on stage, she gets into character.
Yeah. So, I mean, she was another I remember very well because I spent like 2 days with her. The following day when I went, she was staying at the Labadi Beach, I think, and La Palm. Yeah. And I remember when I got there, she was at table, and I was coming in, and my God, this woman, PaJohn! then, she just raised her hand, and then she jumped up.
Dramatic.
Oh my God.
Wow.
She jumped on, and I almost fell. And, so...
Those would be the two, right?
Manu Dubango was another.
You met people,
Yeah. This guy. Another very interesting one was. Can't even remember the movies he's done.
Is it Black American?
Yes. He was. Oh gosh.
Glover?
Danny Glover.
Yes.
Yeah. Danny Glover. So Danny Glover, I met, he was being interviewed by Koku Sechado.
Yes.
And Koku took me along. At the time, Koku was, there were people I admired, obviously. And I, how should I put it? I would just walk into your life, if you like. I
wasn't expecting that. If you admire the person, I
just go to the office.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't do their home.
Yeah.
I admire your work. So I just walk into your office, and I
did that in the past a couple of times.
Yeah. So the editor, this man Nana Kusi Janga Painting, when he was editor of the West Africa magazine in England, I just walked up and he took me in as his little boy, and very often I would be in one corner in his office and I'd be observing him, them going up and down, how he would read a story and give the story the angle that he wanted the story to go and all that. So that's my learning ground. You see, I learn from observing what others are doing. So on this day, Kweku and I, he was going to interview Danny Glover. So Danny Glover came, I think it was at Afrikiko. Danny Glover came.
Right here?
Afrikiko.
Yeah. At the Sawi?
At the Sawi.
Around TV3?
Yes. And we were drinking Coca-Cola.
Okay.
From the bottle, all of us. And I think he was very thirsty. So he finished his in 2 or 3 gulps. And I was, mine was like halfway. And the next thing I saw, so Kweku had the recorder on. So, when the recorder was on, you kind of you feel like the lights are on. So everybody is
best
character and all that. And he was speaking, and then suddenly he picked my bottle and he put it to his lips, and he took a gulp of it and put it back down. It was so fast because I wanted.
What's going on?
That's mine. Yeah. Before I was able to do that, he looked at me and he winked, which meant he knew
what he was doing.
He just wanted a drink. He wanted something. So I was like, oh my God, Danny Glover and I are pals, It's not Danny Glover, it was Danny.
We're buddies now. We go way back.
Cousins. We're cousins, So, I mean, that was, so...
Wow.
And then afterwards, I was like, I wish I could keep this bottle. Put this bottle in a glass and put it there.
Yeah. Wow, beautiful story, man. Yeah. So now I think it's fair if I call PaJohn Danny Glover's cousin.
Yes.
Danny Glover's cousin from Ghana. Pa, among the exotic destinations you've traversed within Ghana, which of them would you consider your favorite and why? I want just one. I don't want a couple. Will you have one? Can you pick one?
I think I like what they did at Pilgrim.
Zeda
Axim area.
Yeah.
I was fascinated. You see, okay. So when I was active, years ago, I happened to be one of those people I was zero guest number zero, because often I'd be invited to visit and write about the destination, like I did at Zeno Lodge, and a few other places, Stone Lodge and all those places. But Blue Moon was something else. The guy, he was Belgian.
Yeah.
So, and he was a bit of a builder himself, if not a builder, and a designer. So how he I was just thinking of the foresight, because he got to the place, it's bushy and forest like everywhere else, but he sees the potential, and what he created, where he created the lawns, even the buildings. He used wood and glass, and I'm a sucker for wood and natural stuff, and so that alone was like, and then wherever the where the windows were, what it framed when you were in the room, it framed a bit of the lawn and then go into the sea. Everything is so
perfectly done.
Yeah, I thought it was so perfectly done. And he also had places where he had planted flowers, not just plants. I'm a plants person, I'm not a flowers person. So, but he had, you have flowers, so there's this pink row of flowers, and some places there's this yellow row of flowers. And I mean, that was like the most exotic. And when you went onto the island with the chalets and private pools, and at night, it's quite fascinating.
No spoilers for people who haven't been there. Wow, I'm really enjoying this. Now, I asked this earlier, but I just want to reframe it. You do so much. You cook, you travel, you write, you lead. Are there any talents you haven't really explored? Ones that you have that people don't know, things that you would want the world to see in the coming years, sometime soon?
I don't know if I want the world to see. I want myself. I want to see it myself, because I think at Chimoto School, one of the things about the learning or the teaching at the art school is how you actually go into an art discipline every year. So I think in Form 2 I did textiles. So I learned batik making and tie and dye, those things. In Form 3 I think I did bookbinding. I did art, drawing and painting was constant. That you did. But for a craft, for that skill thing, you would choose from a variety of things. So I did bookbinding, I did textiles, I did pottery. So what I would have loved to have done, which I didn't do, which I am hoping one day to explore, is sculpture.
That's from the pottery.
The pottery is
the
pottery is a little different from sculpting. I think in Chenchem Museum in Ada, Kwame Akoto's place, he does a bit of that. Teaches people how to sculpt. So as well, I'll start from there and see if
we'll check up on you. We have a task now.
If the talent is there, then I'll continue to
just put something to
my retirement.
I have a question from one of my listeners. I think it's something I forgot to ask. How did you come up with the name Wango Wango?
Wango Wango. So when I was in a dilemma. I had just registered Native Adventures as the name of the company. But Native Adventures was, and when we did the first trip, let me rephrase that. So when we started the alliance, it was to educate and to the advocacy was to educate and to experience. So I wanted to do something experiential, and then the education. So on Doreen's show, we would talk about this place and this place and this place, and then we would organize a trip
for the experience.
So the first trip was to Eastern region. Eastern region has so much beyond just sort of paragliding and Kweru, There's so much. So I remember that I went with there were about 7 people who came with us, and then there was a photographer and a couple of other. So we were about 12 or 13 people, and took the kitchen and so it was the first real thing that we went and did, and we got to. Well, I can't remember the names. I think in Shiraeso or something. A place called a nice hotel. That I think they've stopped that hotel now. But yeah, that hotel, and I set up breakfast, and then we went to this cave where Nkofio cave experience. At the time, I think we were like guest 0. We were the first main guests that went, because at the time the guys who had just sort of discovered the cave were still negotiating with the chiefs and the traditional leaders to allow for people to go there, because it was sacred, and they weren't allowing foreigners, if you like,
quote unquote,
to go near it, let alone enter the cave. So the chiefs, just around the time the chiefs had gone and performed the libation and all kinds of things, where then ordinary people can enter. This was around 2015, and so we went, and it was a really fantastic experience, and everybody was really we were happy, and I was extremely happy because I succeeded in doing something that I wanted to do, and so I wanted a name that resounded with that feeling, and I sort of looked back, and I remember that when I was younger, my elder sister, one of my elder sisters, her boyfriend and his friends, they were coppers of the time. And I remember she used to refer to them as the Wango Wango boys. So I was like, so I went looking, searching for the meaning of Wango Wango. Nothing was coming up. Some websites or something was, and then suddenly I realized that Osibisa had a song, Wango Wango. So I thought, I should, I like Wango Wango. I'm going to call my tours Wango Wango, or the experience or the euphoria we have on the tours, Wango Wango. And so the whole idea of traveling and food, coming together, gastronomy and travel, which, brought about a palpable feeling of real euphoria and happiness and, excitement. And I went and played the song, and guess what? It was actually talking about the similar, I was talking about happiness.
Wow.
I was like, this is crazy. I mean, so that's how I stuck to Wango.
And I'm not sure people know this story.
I don't think so.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Wow, it's been an experience this morning. I really enjoyed. I honestly, and I barely say this, I really wish we had an extra hour, for the sort of questions I would want to ask. It's been a wonderful experience. I must repeat that. I hope we can get you back in here in another capacity. Of course, still on tourism, to talk more about what tourism has to offer us as Ghanaians. I mean, I think people really want to get into business, but their approach is what comes up as a challenge. I think, and I love the fact that you don't really want people to toe your line. It worked for you, it might not work for somebody else. There are different ways through which we can get in. But I mean, any last words for the tourism community and the youth who would want to venture into the sector, like I mentioned? Final words, talk to us.
I think that everybody should approach tourism like show business. And it's one thing that us here in Ghana don't what's the word? Don't recognize that show business itself, by the name, tells you there are two facets to what you are doing or what you want to do.
Showmanship and doing business.
There's
right?
show and then there's business. So two. You have the show. The show is a skill. When you see the photographs of our tours, Charlie, it looks nice. We're up on the mountain, we're by some waterfall. With the glass.
Aesthetics,
Yes, the aesthetics are very, very nice.
And the business side will be the waking up early, keeping your time, making sure the food's done.
Some of us live at Awosh, and they will have to come all the way to Kanda, and then the previous day we will have prepared the whole. The equipment we take. I've built this over 20 years.
How to marinate the
exactly, and all the marinating, all that is planned. For instance, we have some tours this weekend. They're private tours this weekend. The meat is already marinated.
And that's the business side.
Absolutely. And so we have to, the logistics involved is quite a bit. And people don't appreciate that. And that's even one side. And then there's a side where you need the accountant. And you need the administration person. And all those things are so important. You have to get that right before you go out and start smiling for the camera. That's what that one, everybody can do it. Everybody can do. We have, you and your buddies are going on tour, you come and post photos, everybody's doing it. But if you ask them if they're making money, they'll start confessing that Charlie, the money not come, because it's just you and your buddies, doing some excursions here and there. But if you really, really want to take it seriously,
you make it a business.
You want to make it a business, then you have to look at it as a business, and that means you have to put a team together. If my competitor, but look at Adansi. Adansi is he did it when he started. We were friends, and he told me how he started. And it started seriously. He started more as a business before
getting into the other side.
He didn't, mine is a reverse. Because
and it worked for you.
Yes, though I didn't. I went in, and because I'm the creative one and I'm the, so then the thing built up around me, and then later you have to learn that this is a business, so you have to
need to decentralize it, bring in more people that can sustain it.
His approach
was the other way around.
The other way around. He actually had the whole setup, and then went business before it became
the brand
the household name it is now. So anybody wants to get into it, you have to have a lot of patience to wait for years before you start what's the word, breaking even and making profits,
making the bread you want to make,
otherwise it'll just be you going on holidays 350 days in the year
with your boys
or girls for
PaJohn, thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. We know you're a very busy man. We appreciate your time here today, and as I mentioned, we'll get in touch and bring you back here sometime soon, or maybe join you on one of the trips.
Yes,
why not? Switch things up.
Yes,
get the experiential bit. We've spoken about it.
Yes,
but we need to get into business. A wonderful morning to you and your team for.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I mean, when I got the call, I was a bit. I confess, of course, I'm not a wife and person now. I used to be, and so when I got the call, I was like, wow. Okay, that's interesting. And it was like a topping on my cake. Thank you very much.
Most welcome. We appreciate your time.